Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. A lot of you have asked for me to comment on this Honey PayPal scam over here. You gotta watch the video. It's 23 minutes, but it's totally worth it. It's gotten almost 8 million views in a few days, and frankly, that's not enough. The TLDR of it is that Honey is a plugin for your browser that's supposed to find you the best deals on products by finding you coupon codes so that when you check out, it'll automatically insert the best coupon code for you rather than you having to scour the internet to find the best deal. That sounds like a great deal, right? Wrong. A, this was not finding you the best deal, surprise, surprise, and more importantly, B, it was actually ripping off all of the creators that were actually shilling it. So there were a lot of creators that were getting paid to promote Honey with sponsored videos, and it was literally stealing their revenue. The type of affiliate programs that I liked were affiliate programs where it doesn't matter what you buy. If I say, I like this soldering station, you go to the website to buy it, and you're like, I actually want to buy a Weller. If you bought anything from that store, I can wind up getting money, which is cool for a number of reasons. A, I'm not biased towards the products that I'm going to recommend to you, and B, it incentivizes me to actually recommend products rather than just tell people RTFM. I created a very long blog post on my website back in 2015 detailing all of the equipment that I use, and nobody ever read it, even when I mentioned it in videos. They would constantly comment and email me saying, Lewis, what soldering iron do you use? Lewis, what hot air do you use? And I would lose my mind and say RTFM. And once I learned what the affiliate program is, then I realized I could convert this anger from people not reading or paying attention to what I said into money. Every single time you ask me what I use, I could send you an affiliate link, and even if you bought cat litter off of the website that I sent you to, without a soldering station, I would get a percentage of that cat litter. Once I learned about this, instead of getting aggravated or ignoring those comments, I actually went back through years of YouTube comments and answered every single question anybody had about equipment. I would provide you with tips, tricks, here's how you should work on this thing, so that there was some value added with me giving you that link. And even if you didn't wind up buying what I recommended, you could buy the exact opposite. You could have bought cat litter. I got a commission for it. So it provided me with an incentive structure to actually provide you with help rather than me saying, fuck you, you should have read the blog post that I linked in the description of the video. It was a win-win. I got money, you got information. It worked. And for a lot of small content creators, you may be at the point where you're making $10 a month in YouTube revenue, but you could make $300 or $500 or even $1,000 a month in affiliate revenue. If you're a small content creator, affiliate revenue will make you way more than any of YouTube's ad sharing bullshit. Until Honey came along. What Honey did is they did this manipulative shit where it would actually manipulate the fucking browser cookie in some technical way that they go over in this video so that the person who was supposed to get the affiliate revenue doesn't, and it goes to Honey. So they would, if I tell you, buy this Hakko FX951 here, it's an awesome station. Even if they did not find you a fucking coupon code, they would still redo the browser cookie so that they got the affiliate revenue rather than me, even though I was the one that referred you to the store. This is highly fucked up, and more importantly, above all, it demonstrates that 99% of the people on this platform that recommend you shit have no fucking clue what it is they're advertising to you. Not only are they often advertising shit that's bad to you, in the case of BetterHelp and a number of other garbage sponsors, they're advertising shit that's bad to them. They are so clueless about what they are advertising that they are literally being spokespeople for a company that was ripping them off unknowingly. And I think that this is incredibly important to understand here, and I think that's the real takeaway, is not, okay, whatever, Honey scam people, I get it, they deserve to get fucked. Yes, they do. But the real takeaway here is that 99% of the people that are recommending you shit on YouTube are so out of touch that they're recommending products that not only screw you, they're recommending products that actively screw them. Which is why you should be very, very careful when somebody recommends something to you on this platform, especially me, when it comes to anybody. This happened at a perfect time because I got an email in my inbox from somebody asking if they could use me as an example for their high school project. They have to do something similar to what I had to do in Mr. Pelenkovic's English class back in 2005, which is contact somebody who does the job that I want to do someday and ask them a bunch of questions. And this kid wanted to be an influencer, and he had a bunch of questions on it that I hope are answered by what I'm about to read. To be clear, I'm very disappointed to be reading this because this was supposed to be part of a longer 2-hour video that's on an entirely unrelated subject. I hate the idea of reusing something or reusing a piece of content, but this story is very, very relevant to this particular situation, so I am going to use it for both this video and the 2-hour video that's likely going to be coming out sometime in the next 1 or 2 weeks once I finish going over everything. So this is going to be a story, and I think it very much so applies to this situation, the influencer economy in general, that word, and the question that I got asked by that student. Mr. Jack. No, not the guy from the 2002 System of a Down album. That's what people in the neighborhood called my grandpa, Mr. Jack. My grandpa's name was Jack Rossman. He grew up in the South Bronx in the 1920s. He died in the early 90s, so I didn't have much time with him. Most of his lessons I learned through my dad. People don't listen to you because you tell them to do things, nor does respect or authority come from your position, like you're the principal, the boss, the president, etc. At 5 years old, my dad told me I shouldn't listen to him because he was my dad. He had to earn my respect, even as a child, the same way everybody else did. You can imagine how foreign this sounded to other parents in a culture that encouraged spanking, punishing, and barking demands at their offspring as if they were pets rather than people. His concept of talking to me at 6 years old like I was an equal came off as ignorant idealism at best and dangerous parenting at its worst. Jack was a professional machinist and an exceptional handyman in his spare time. In his 40s and 50s during the crack epidemic, he spent lots of time out of work. My grandma had fallen mentally ill during a time when there weren't many resources available for this. He spent most of his time taking care of her. Animals placated my grandma's moods better than early shit like Milton, Seconal, or a trip to a mental institution. Jack's hole-in-the-wall New York City apartment had over 10 cats and dogs in under 500 square feet. To keep himself sane, he walked through the street and checked out abandoned buildings that were deteriorating in the 1970s, when landlords had abandoned their properties in large numbers. These buildings were usually occupied by teenagers cutting class, drinking 40s and smoking weed, and high and drunk at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. These were society's throwaways. Their teachers and parents, if they even had any, adoption centers, or legal guardians had forfeited their responsibilities to guide them towards a productive life, with no consequences. Combine parental neglect with a crack era in New York City and the South Bronx, and you get fights in the street, robberies in the subway, and off the subway, and thousands of kids joining gangs and destroying their lives. My grandpa walked around parts of the South Bronx that sane people avoided in the 1970s. He couldn't work on a normal schedule because of his mentally ill wife, but he found purpose applying his restless energy to the buildings neglected and abandoned by the slumlords that had left the city. He got to work trying to fix his corner of the world. He brought his tools and started working on random buildings. He saw the decline of his neighborhood every time he took a walk, and he wanted to make things better. It was very obvious that he was out of place. This is a blue-collar man in his 50s walking through a gang-ridden area in work clothes, with a hat that looked like it belonged in a photo from the Great Depression, dragging building materials left in an apartment's basement to work on shit that wasn't even his. Sometimes he'd talk with the kids in the building, even though it was obvious they were up to no good. I doubt they were expecting his input. I think they were confused and surprised by him walking past them and into these buildings, like he didn't have a care in the world. My grandpa was described like Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption, going through a yard of hardened criminals picking up rocks as if he had no idea he was in a maximum security prison. Those kids probably wondered what the fuck he was doing there more than anything else. He wasn't looking to change their minds or get them to show up to school and pursue honor roll. He succeeded in planting a seed in a patch of grass that society had left behind, and showing these kids that there might be something else they could do with their time. People looked down their nose at Mr. Jack. He was broke, and he did not enjoy the family life of people whose spouses were mentally healthy. The 1950s through 1970s weren't like 2024. You didn't have BetterHelp or Prozac or options. You had mental institutions and Nembutal. It was a shitty time to be mentally ill, or shittier, I should say. It's never a fun time to be mentally ill. More importantly, Jack wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. During the school day when he saw kids cutting class, he should have been reporting them to truancy officers, getting them thrown in jail or taken back to school where a teacher would wrap their hands with a ruler, because that'll fix them, right? My grandpa was already poor, with a mentally ill wife and a small apartment with 10 animals. Now he's enabling the bad behavior of neighborhood hoodlums. People thought he should be reporting them, or at the very least pretending that he didn't see them like everyone else. He sure as shit isn't supposed to be talking to them while entering abandoned buildings he has no business being in. Not only was he committing the crime of speaking with neighborhood hoodlums, watching as they drank their 40s and smoked their weed, cutting class, his work on the dilapidated buildings made them inhabitable by the teenagers and more amenable to what they were doing, many of whom were gang members. That meant more places to smoke weed and drink liquor away from the eyes of society. They had places to avoid getting in trouble as they cut class to meet up. One day, he took a detour through an area that you're really not supposed to walk through if you look like him in crack-era South Bronx. A group of people began walking towards him in a way that let him know that he's fucked. My grandpa used to carry this metal stick on him, the one you see in this other video, I'll put a screenshot if I don't forget, to deal with altercations like that, since it's the closest thing that you get to a Second Amendment in New York City. Sometimes he won, sometimes he lost. 1 or 2 people, maybe. 5 people? No. He realized there was no chance here, and he accepted the beatdown or robbery that was coming to him. Before it started, one kid yelled out, "Wait, that's Mr. Jack. He cool." They talked amongst themselves and left him alone. That's probably the only reason he got to keep the few teeth he had left at that point. As time went on, the blocks where he worked in these houses became slightly less dangerous for normal people to walk down. He even had some of these kids helping him fix up the buildings. He was teaching them how to use tools, but more importantly, somehow watching him do what he did got some of them to want to do what he was doing. Still not the type of place you'd want to walk down after dark on a Friday night, but less shitty than it was before. His neighbors saw my grandpa as someone who was providing young gangsters safe harbor to cut school, plan criminal activities, while avoiding police and truancy officers. But that was the surface level narrative. The reality? These kids would be cutting school, drinking liquor, and beating the fuck out of random passerbys in the street regardless of what my grandpa did. And he wasn't stupid enough to believe that the South Bronx in the 70s would turn into Toad Hill and Staten Island if he had simply left them alone. As time went on, these kids who were discarded as the dregs of society would come by to help him work on the buildings. They found it cool. He taught them the tools of the trade. Put aside for a moment that these kids were cutting school, in gangs, drinking illegally, and occupying somebody else's property. My grandpa's subtle implication to these kids was deafening. This is your place. If you're going to hang out here, you might as well make it better along with me. In spite of their activity and circumstances, he got them to feel like these places were theirs. He got teenage gang members to work for free, fixing up buildings in their own neighborhood. He didn't yell at them, shame them, punish them, or threaten them. The internet wouldn't be available to average consumers. The internet wouldn't be available for average consumers for another 17 to 25 years, or social media as we know it for another 30. Yet here was my grandpa being an influencer. My grandpa's neighbors would falsely implicate him in the actions of these gangs via guilt by association, defaming him for providing them safe harbor, talking to them, and not reporting them. His neighbors missed the point. You can only be in one place at once. And kids fixing up plumbing in dilapidated buildings are kids off the street. He gained their ear by doing what my dad did with me and taught me to do as well. Above all, let's be real. Nothing his gossiping asshole neighbors were doing was changing their behavior anyway. Why would he take their approach? He didn't demand respect by virtue of positional authority. He didn't point to his name tag and say, I'm an adult, you're a kid. He met people where they were. I believe that's why that gang didn't beat his ass halfway to death in the street that day. My grandpa was convinced that a few kids avoided going deep down the rabbit hole into a life of gang-related crime, and that their escape started after asking him how to use his tools or if he needed any help. My grandpa wasn't deluded. New York City was still a crack epidemic mess in the 1970s and the 1980s. I am not deluded. 99% of my work with right to repair and repair education will fall flat and result in nothing of consequence. My grandpa won't be remembered for his life accomplishments, and he knew that. He wasn't famous, he wasn't mentioned in the news, and when he died, he left my father with a sum of money that's less than the sale of Clinton the Cat mouse pads for the month of November. I doubt anyone outside of a 5-block radius of his home even knew who he was. I have D-list YouTube fame, but I'm not deluded with grandeur. The same will likely be true for me. He wasn't Batman. For most, there wasn't a happy ending. Most of those kids didn't become valedictorians or PhDs, but that wasn't the point. Just because you can't fix it all doesn't mean you neglect tidying up your corner of the world when others have abdicated their responsibility to do so. He didn't care if there was no immediate financial or social benefit to him because that wasn't the point. He enjoyed the process of cleaning up his corner of the world. My grandpa wasn't an influential speaker. He's not Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, Jordan Peterson, or Andrew Tate. I guess those kids became open to listening to him because they weren't used to an adult talking to them or looking at them like they were human. He worked to clean up his corner of the world when nobody else would, and he got the least likely members of society to follow along. He died when I was very young. One memory etched in my head was when an in-law of my dad was asking why he engaged in this behavior. My mother's side of the family hated my dad's, and were always criticizing and throwing jabs at him. He was an easy target as somebody broke with a mentally ill wife. My grandpa responded with the line, "This is my corner of the world." My grandpa responded with the line, "This is my corner of the world. There are many like it, but this one is mine." Until the day he died, he took pride in always cleaning up his corner of the world. We have a fucked up definition of what an influencer is in society. This word is a dirty word, and it shouldn't be. It is a word that needs to be taken back by people who believe in this definition of influencer rather than this other garbage. These people were not just shilling products that harmed you. They were shilling products that harmed them. They don't have control over their own lives. Why should you possibly give them any control over yours? Being an influencer is not about Ben Shapiro misleading you into how ExpressVPN hides your data from Facebook and evil big tech and allows you to take it all back when you're logging into Facebook as Andrew Smith at andrewsmith@gmail.com just because your IP changed once in a while. They still know who you are. Being an influencer is not about getting somebody to click on a link to download a video game that is known to be addictive and encourage gambling in children. Being an influencer is not doing shill interviews with the executives of $3 trillion companies and then going 96 miles an hour where kids walk down the street. Being an influencer is about going into a corner of society where nobody else is helping, and not just helping, but getting other people to follow along, getting other people to say, you know what? I want to do what he's doing. Why am I sitting here doing nothing? This man is coming to this building that's not even his, and he's working on shit. He's working on the wall. He's putting a door back up. He's fixing the window frame. He's fucking with the plumbing so that it doesn't leak in the kitchen all the time, so we actually have water so I can wash my hands when I'm spill a part of my beard on myself or whatever. He's doing all that every day. Maybe I should do it too. Maybe I should ask how I can help. He makes it look kind of cool, and he treats me like I'm a human being. That's being an influencer. There was this guy that was on a St. Mark's Place. There was a store called Dr. Brendan. And one of my best friends, Sonny, he started a store called Simple Mac right across the street from Dr. Brendan. And many people quit because they were promised raises around the end of 2011 and 2012. And while he was posting to Facebook his escapades traveling all over the world and partying, he actually wound up offering some people pay cuts because he said his business wasn't making him any money. Needless to say, many people decided to work elsewhere. My good friend Andrew started his own company. Sonny started his own company. Another one in Connecticut, in Greenwich, I forget the name of the guy, really. Lauren, he defected as well. Cool people. But the point is, I'm never going to forget this one conversation that I had with him. He had asked me if I was open to just closing for around $80,000. And we talked for about 20 or 30 minutes. We had some tea at this place, It was the Hookah Lounge. It was Hookah Lounge right next door to 186 First Avenue. He said something after I refused all the offers at the end that I'm never going to forget. You're not going to change the world through computer repair. Stop trying. What he didn't understand is that I'm not trying to change the world through computer repair. I'm not trying to change the world. I'm trying to clean up my small corner of it. In 2012 and 2013, nobody was showing you how to do component level board repair. And nobody was working to make it accessible. Was I the smartest person in the world? No. Do I know how to make videos with good production quality? No. Do I know how to speak into a camera well? No. And that's 10 years later. I tried to anyway. Let me try and clean up my little corner of the world and make it look like fun. I'm not going to look at people and say, you need to repair. If you don't, you're ruining the climate. You're helping to create a less sustainable economy. How dare you? How dare you? Because that shit don't work. I wanted to take something and make it look like fun. I'm doing it. I'm going to make it fun. I'm going to show it to all of you. Maybe somebody else will want to pick up a soldering iron and try along with me. Maybe you'll share in my fun as well. And while you're sharing in my fun, maybe you'll be a little bit less of a miserable fuck. Maybe instead of sit there and think about how you want to kill yourself because your life sucks and you live with your parents and you lost your job and you're mentally ill, maybe for 30 minutes that day, you'll feel a little bit better when you work on something and you get it to turn on again. Or even if you can't get it to turn on again, if you take a chip off of something that turns on and you put it back, and it's not worse off than it was when it started. Because trust me, there are times in my life where that's a cause for a celebration. That needs to be the definition of influencer that wins. The weirdest part of that conversation was just how lost this person looked when asking me that question, as if there's no possible reward that can come from cleaning up your own corner of the world. I have an idea of what my grandpa must have felt like when that kid asked, what can I do to help? Or picked up one of his tools after he said what he said. And I know that because, well, I've done less than 1% of what he's done with his life. I get stuff like this mailed to me every now and then. Going over how a donation this guy got from a referral from me talking on his channel about this and trying to promote a particular law. He got $200,000 of funding to try to get people that are making NASA robots to make wheelchairs for people that they can actually afford and fix themselves. I know that had to be one of the happiest days of my grandpa's life. And I know why he did it. Because when you do something for yourself, you get that kick of dopamine once. But when you get other people to follow suit, you get to relive that happiness over and over and over again. I know how happy he felt that day. Because I feel that exact same feeling when I read stuff like this show up on my desk, handwritten the day before Christmas. When somebody says the word influencer, they see it as an icky word. Because the word means this bullshit. The definition of influencer right now is so broken that it refers to people who are so clueless that they are getting scammed by the very products and services that they are recommending to you. The word influencer refers to people like Mr. Jack and what he provided to those teenagers. Bullshitter is the word that should apply to people that get paid to shill ExpressVPN and mislead you into believing that you're getting back at big tech for stealing your information when you are logging into Facebook with your real name and your email that's after your real name, and you have your browser cookies set to allow every single thing in. And then magically, somehow, Facebook's totally going to stop you sucking up your information because your IP address changed for a day. That's not an influencer. That's a bullshitter. And we need to change the way we use these words because words matter. We need to restore the proper meaning of these words. I was writing a page for my website today on a series of products that SanDisk made that they didn't take accountability or responsibility for. They went downhill considerably after Western Digital purchased them. One of these is a solid-state drive that would just randomly erase your data. It would have chips that just came off of the board. This thing is designed Dare I say it, worse than some of the old model MacBook motherboards. And you had people that were recommending these things in ways that just made me sick. I did not mean for my website to have this page that was designed as advertising to become a 2-paragraph rant on fake influencers in society, but that's what it turned into. If you take a look over here, it says this SanDisk 4TB Extreme Portable SSD costs this. When you scroll down to this recommendation made by Cult of Mac, you'll see I haven't tested this, but I've used many SanDisk products over the decades. The company built a reputation for quality products, AKA they are using affiliate links where they get revenue for when you buy something to advertise to you and suggest to you a product that they never fucking used. They had a lot of lawsuits come out against them because this product was a steaming pile of shit. And there were other people that were continuing to promote this steaming pile of shit over here. This has never been updated, and this article came out months after it was known that this product is a steaming pile of shit. Many vendors wanted to get rid of this product as fast as possible for obvious reasons. As a result of this, the price had tanked. Since the price had tanked, it is very easy to get a lot of people to go, wait, I can get a 4TB SSD for a few $100s? Sign me up. And it was very easy to make affiliate revenue doing this. Many of the people suggesting this product knew it was faulty, didn't know it was faulty because they didn't bother to do a single Google search, or didn't even try the product themselves that they were telling you to buy. This is not the definition of influencer that I want to win. Mr. Jack was and always will be an influencer. What these people did is low-level online marketing. They are not the same. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. Merry Christmas. I'll see you in the next one.